Hi everyone and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
I'm Kathy.
And I guess Happy New Year. First of our January articles for this year. Did you get up early today, everybody? Are you an early bird or a night owl? When do you feel more awake and get more things done? Kathy?
Well, I have to say that recently I have tried to go to sleep at 10:30 p.m., wake up at 6 a.m., and go jogging for 30 minutes, and then start to work at 8 a.m.
Wow.
However, I tried this for 3 days and was so tiring, and I gave up.
Fair enough.
So I have been an early bird for 3 days, and then I was back to being a night owl by going to bed around 11:50 p.m. And before I go to bed, I usually feel more awake at this period of time.
Okay.
And so for me, it's when I get more things done. However, I have to say that going to bed early and waking up earlier is really good for our human bodies. And I remember that you are an early bird, right, Pat?
Yeah, I am. I prefer to kind of get up early, get stuff done in the day, and then pretty much after 5, I don't really want to be doing too much stuff. I'm way more productive sort of either side of, lunch. In the morning, good. Afternoon, good. In the evening, not so good as for brain stuff. If I'm acting, maybe it's different. You kind of want to move around after the day and you can do some stuff. But yeah, most of the time I'm an early bird and I wouldn't mind going to bed at 10 o'clock every night. Quite happy to do that and get up and start the day around 7. But how do you start the day in the right way? Well, let's read through today's article and find one thing you can do. Radio Taiso. Let's check it out.
Reading. Wake up to Radio Taiso. Do you ever feel really tired in the morning? Radio Taiso can help. This Japanese morning routine starts off your day with comforting piano tunes on the radio. In addition to playing music, the broadcast encourages you to move your body to get your blood and muscles moving. Surprisingly, Radio Taiso came from the US. During the 1920s, a big American company paid for a 15-minute exercise program to be played on the radio. Japanese employees of this company saw this and created their own version back in Japan. Later, this program was officially introduced to Japan in 1928 to celebrate Emperor Hirohito's formal rise to the crown. After World War II, the program was shut down, but it came back to life soon after. 1951 was the second birth of Japan's treasured morning exercise program. Radio Taiso has been on the air in Japan for almost 100 years. The people of Japan praise this morning routine because it can bring schools, companies, and society as a whole together.
So our article begins by saying, do you ever feel really tired in the morning?
今天我们要来看一个很生活化的议题和广播体操有关的。Feel really tired in the morning? I think we all know what that feels like.
Absolutely.
The article continues to say, Radio Taiso, 体操 can help.
But what is Radio Taiso? The article says this Japanese morning routine starts off your day with comforting piano tunes on the radio. The phrasal verb start off just means the same as start, but we have to follow it with a noun. For example, start off your day, start off your journey, start off your lesson. We often use this in a longer phrase, start off A with B. So B is the thing, activity, or food that begins A. So you could say, I like to start off my breakfast with orange juice, bacon, and eggs.
这里我们来看 start off 这个片语，同学们可以用 start 这个字呢去联想它的意思。其实 start off 和 start 意思相同，都是开始。那还有一个片语也有 start 的意思，这个片语就是 kick off。It means to start or begin. For example, we can say, to kick off today's event, let's invite our principal to come up to the stage to say a few words.
Yeah, or we could say, we will start off today's event with some words from the principal, using start off in that way. Now, we also saw the word comforting in that sentence. Something that is comforting makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel safe, secure, and happy. Parents and friends are often comforting to us, as are pets. Certain foods, smells, and sounds can be comforting too, like the smell of baking bread, or in this case, the sound of piano tunes. Here's an example that's true for me.I find listening to the sound of the waves on a beach very comforting.
Comforting 同学们可以用 comfort 安慰舒适这个单字去想，在这边 comforting 是形容词，意思是令人感到舒缓的、舒心的。Maybe your friend said something and it made you feel less sad or worried. 那么除了在用在心灵上面 comforting 也可以用在我们吃到的食物上面。举个例子 Hot soup is very comforting on a cold winter's day.
Yeah, especially that ginger duck stuff or mayo kind of soup. That seems to be the popular comforting foods here. But Radio Taiso is more than just music. In the article, it says that,In addition to playing music, the broadcast encourages you to move your body to get your blood and muscles moving. A broadcast is any program that's played on TV or over the radio on a certain TV or radio station.We don't often use the word today as we have digital streaming, cable TV, digital radio, that kind of thing. But in the old days, when you needed to pick up a signal for a TV program or radio station, it would often be called a broadcast, and it would be at a particular time on a particular day.Broadcast can be a verb as well, meaning when a station, a TV or radio station, plays a particular program.Here's a sentence as a noun. I listened to the news broadcast on the radio to find out what was going on in the world.
同学们，你们有听 broadcast 的习惯吗？ Broadcast 就是广播，在文章这边当名词使用，也可以指广播节目。我们来看一个例子。These broadcasts will be heard in most parts of the country. 这些广播节目国内大部分地区都能听到，所以像电台或是新闻广播，我们就可以说 a radio or news broadcast.
Now in that sentence, we also saw the word encourage. To encourage someone is to go, yeah, you're great. You can do it. 加油. However, we can also encourage someone to do something, which means to try to get them to do it by giving them reasons. You could encourage someone to do something by promising a reward, for example. Here, Radio Taiso is trying to encourage or get people to move around and help them wake up by exercising. Here's another example.My parents encouraged me to follow my dreams and do things that make me happy.
我们生活当中很多时候都非常需要被 encourage。大家呢应该有印象 courage 是什么意思，对不对？就是勇气。所以你在前面加上 en 变成 encourage， 意思就是鼓励了。那这是动词，例如 Our parents always encouraged us to ask questions. Encourage also has the meaning of this, to make someone more likely to do something or to make something more likely to happen. For example, we were encouraged to learn foreign languages at school.
Now we're going to find out some more about Radio Taiso's history.So, of course, it's from Japan, but as the article says, surprisingly, Radio Taiso came from the US.
We learn more and see that in the article it mentions that during the 1920s, a big American company paid for a 15-minute exercise program to be played on the radio.
Clearly, this turned out to be a popular thing, as we learn that Japanese employees of this company saw this and created their own version back in Japan. An employee is a person who works for a company. It's not the owner, though it could be a manager if the manager isn't also the owner. Employees get hired. The person who does the hiring is the employer with the ER ending. To mean employee, we could also just say worker. Here's a sentence. The company wants to hire some new employees so it can open a new office.
在这边呢 employee 就是员工 someone who is paid to work for someone else 而雇用受雇的英文就是 employment 用 employment 造个句子 A large office requires the employment of many people 一个大事务所需要雇用许多人
We also saw the word version in that sentence. Japanese workers created their own version of the American exercise program. A version is a different form of one particular thing. So think of a book that gets made into a movie. Each one is a different version of the same story. The movie version maybe will be shorter, but it will keep all the exciting bits, maybe add a few more that weren't in the book. Then maybe another movie of the same book is made 20 years later. There are new actors, new special effects. They do the story in a different way. So it's one story, but with 3 different versions.
Version 就是版本的意思 We could say an English language version of the book is planned for next year. Or, another example, his story of what happened that night didn't correspond with the witness's version. 关于当晚所发生的事情那个故事呢，他说的跟证人的版本不符合。
So let's get back to the article, and we see that later this program, so this Japanese version, was officially introduced to Japan in 1928 to celebrate Emperor Hirohito's formal rise to the crown. Officially means formally, so it means that this thing has happened with approval from the people who manage and organize something. When something is done officially, it's often recorded in the records as history, or it's introduced in some kind of ceremony. Before something has happened officially, it may still actually be happening, but not in a way that's recognized by whoever is in charge. So we could say, for example, Gavin will officially leave the company on January 31st, but his last actual day in the office will be the Friday before.
Officially 是官方的、公开且正式的。It means formally and in a way agreed to or arranged by people in positions of authority. For example, the royal engagement was announced officially this morning. 皇家订婚的消息呢，在今天早上正式宣布。而文章中的 rise 是名词，在这边指地位上升。The crown 指的是王权、君权，因此 the rise to the crown 意思就是登基。So in the article, this was made official with Hirohito become the emperor.
That's right. An emperor is the ruler of an empire. An empire is a powerful nation of one country and many other countries and areas that it controls. The Roman Empire covered parts of Europe, Africa, and Asia, and the leader of all those armies and peoples was the emperor. We had more empires and emperors in the past, but Japan is now one of the very few countries, possibly the only country, I'd need to look it up, that still has an emperor these days. Here's an example from history, though. Augustus was the first emperor of Rome. He became the leader of the empire in 27 BC.
我们来看一下 emperor 这个单词，大家在历史课本里面应该会认识许多的 emperor， 就是皇帝。如果是女的皇帝，我们称女帝，英文就是 empress, a female ruler. Let's take a look at an example sentence. This collection of jewels once belonged to a Russian empress, Catherine the Great. Wow, so Radio Taiso has been around for a long time.That's
true, but it did take a break. We see that after World War II, the program was shut down, but it came back to life soon after. To come back to life could mean really coming back from the dead, like a zombie or a vampire in a movie, but here we mean the more common meaning. So something has stopped being popular,But then it becomes popular again, or people start doing or using it again, so we say it's come back to life.
这边有个非常好记的片语 come back to life. 大家呢用想的话可以知道它是什么意思。这边是复活或是复苏。For example, Christians believe Jesus came back to life after dying. Or another example, it was many hours before he came back to life. 过了好几个小时他才苏醒哦。So when did it, meaning the program, come back to life?The
article says 1951 was the second birth of Japan's treasured morning exercise program.
刚刚这句当中的 birth 有开始起源的意思。这里的 the second birth 指的是复兴、复苏或是重生，而 treasured 为过去分词做形容词用，表示珍贵的、珍藏的。那 treasure 当动词的时候，指的是珍惜、珍藏。Next, we see that the article says Radio Taiso has been on the air in Japan for almost 100 years.
If something is on the air, that means it's on the radio. It's being played somewhere so people can listen to it. I think we can use it for a TV show as well, but again, these are back in the days when signals were sent out through the air, whereas nowadays it's a lot more digital, it's streaming, it's a different kind of technology.
On the air 意思是广播或电视播出 and it's still as popular as ever.
Absolutely right. As the article says in its conclusion, the people of Japan praise this morning routine because it can bring schools, companies, and society as a whole together. The phrase as a whole means as a single group, not treated as its separate parts. When we say society as a whole, we mean everyone in the society, from an emperor to the school kids. We can use the phrase in general to have the same meaning.
今天的片语都很好记哦。这里我们看到 as a whole， 我们就可以想到 whole 这个字意思是全部，所以这个片语的意思就是作为整体 as a whole, which is considered as a group and not in parts. For example,The population as a whole is getting healthier. 或是刚才 Pat 老师提到另一个同样意思的片语，就是 in general.
So yeah, I guess this morning routine brings people together, like everybody in a class or a school listens to it and they all do the exercises. Every worker in the company kind of gets up and does the same little exercise to get them going. You know, you've got grandparents doing it at home, people doing it outside or up on the roof or in a park. That's kind of the idea with this morning routine, and that's why it's such a popular part of Japan. Well, that brings us to the end of our article. So now it's time for today's For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So the question is, what do you do to wake up in the morning? Would you be willing to try something like Radio Taiso? Why? Or why not?
As I shared in the beginning of today's lesson, I try to wake up early in the morning to go jogging to help myself wake up, although it didn't quite work out. Well, I also have another way to help myself wake up, and that is to drink coffee in the morning. As for the second question, I think, I would be willing to try something like Radio Taiso because in the article, it mentioned that the broadcast encourages you to move your body and get your blood and muscles moving. So if it's not too early in the morning, probably more like 6:30 in the morning, I think it might be a great way to help me wake up. So what about you, Pat? Any good tips to help you wake up in the morning?
I would say do it at the same time every day because it gets your body into the routine. I would say try and get some sunlight as soon as possible. That's science. Just the sunlight really does get things going in your body. So if you can, go and open your curtains and get some sunlight on you. I find that the right music will help. My alarm clock, and these days I'm using a phone, but I get the phone to play a song when I wake up in the morning. And I used to have, before smartphones, an alarm clock that was connected to like a cassette player, and it would play a song. Or a CD track, something like that. So you pick something that feels lively, feels awake. For many, many years, I have been using Vivaldi's Four Seasons, one of the spring ones. It seems to wake you up. But you could choose anything. It could be rock music, could be classical music, any kind of some kind of music. You don't have to get up and stretch to it. I wouldn't do that. But, it's kind of more pleasant than just a kind of beeping alarm clock. That just makes you want to roll back over and go back to bed because it's such a horrible sound. Those are my tips. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Kathy.
Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wake up to Radio Taiso. Do you ever feel really tired in the morning? Radio Taiso can help. This Japanese morning routine starts off your day with comforting piano tunes on the radio. In addition to playing music, the broadcast encourages you to move your body to get your blood and muscles moving. Surprisingly, Radio Taiso came from the US. During the 1920s, a big American company paid for a 15-minute exercise program to be played on the radio. Japanese employees of this company saw this and created their own version back in Japan. Later, this program was officially introduced to Japan in 1928 to celebrate Emperor Hirohito's formal rise to the crown. After World War II, the program was shut down, but it came back to life soon after. 1951 was the second birth of Japan's treasured morning exercise program. Radio Taiso has been on the air in Japan for almost 100 years. The people of Japan praise this morning routine because it can bring schools, companies, and society as a whole together.
Vocabulary Review. Comforting. It's very comforting to take a hot bath after a tiring day at work. Broadcast. I didn't have tickets for the basketball game, so I watched the broadcast on TV. Encourage. The low cost of living in Taiwan is encouraging more foreigners to move here. Employee. The small company has 17 employees who work as managers, clerks, and salespeople. Officially. The government officially told us that we shouldn't go to work tomorrow because of the typhoon. Emperor. The prince became an emperor and ruled the country after his father died.
智慧小补帖
Version.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。 活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net